good to see you in these interesting times. We're here today to talk a little bit about you and your research, which I found particularly fascinating. I wonder if you could share a little bit of your background that brought you to your current study, or your completed study.
Oh, thanks, Andrea. It's great to be here and have this conversation with you. I realised as I was preparing for it that I've been studying online groups for 10 years now,
Wow.
which was a surprise to me. Yeah. So I did my, when I was doing my Masters of Organisation Dynamics, I did my research thesis on a virtual large study group. So it was a group that met online for the purpose of studying its processes and dynamics. So, and in that research, I found that what I found was it seemed that online groups tend to amplify dynamics that you'd normally find in face-to-face group. So they're not particularly, they're not particularly different. They're amplified. And I kind of really felt like I was on the edge of learning something, which is what prompted my PhD. Because I kind of thought there's something here. And I still feel like there's something here that we haven't quite figured out, even having finished the PhD.
Yeah. I mean, we are on, it's interesting you say you've looked at that for 10 years, and I've certainly experienced being in and around that working format for a long time. And I think part of that is this is an evolving world now. We're all actively learning. So can you tell me a little bit about your you took up the call of curiosity following your master's work. What was your thesis study?
Look, I was looking at I decided to look at partially distributed teams. Now that was a term that I discovered, but actually I just wanted to look at teams that were spread across offices where there was a mix of face-to-face and online, to try and understand what happens in organisations. That's what happens in our contemporary organisations. So an organisation agreed to be a case study for me. It was a kind of a qualitative case study using action research approach, with interviews and observations and reflective inquiry, etc. So it was, and I think I collected the data over 12 to 15 months with them. So it was quite in depth and really interesting. So the team that I ended up working with, therapists working in the child protection system, spread across regional Victoria. So, their work by its very nature is place-based and relational, and they're working in a team that's spread across quite a large geographic area. All the therapists sort of work autonomously and independently with their clients, and a lot of it is outreach, so some come to the offices and sometimes they go out to their clients. And so when I said to them, what is it about, tell me about your team, what is the task of your team? They would kind of go, well, it's the task of the organisation, and they would sort of reel it off. But there wasn't any explicit shared task for this team. And so I think in a way the research created an opportunity for them to come together and think about what it was they were doing. This was a shared task, probably, one of very few they've had over their time, I think. And, what we came was really quite funny, because I'm there to study a team. And as we got towards the end of it, what we all really came to realise, and they came to realise before me, is that they weren't really functioning as one team. They were functioning as teams based on location.
So they had the virtual meeting group, but then they were part of the people they were physically with?
The people they were co-located with.
Co-located with, Can a virtual team ever be a team? I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there were sort of 4 factors that really made their identification very strong at a place-based level. And one was the fact that they were geographically dispersed. One was the fact that they didn't have an explicit shared task. One was the difficulty of engaging online, just in terms of technological.
So logistical stuff of,
yeah.
like we had this morning, it's fine, then it goes out of sync.
And then it goes out of sync, yeah. And then the other one was about the structural separation of decision-making and service delivery. So that really, there was so much happening at head office that was centralised that there wasn't much autonomy at a team level, and having that autonomy at a team level actually helps the team to work together. So, so there were more than just one thing. It wasn't just the technology. It wasn't just that they were spread apart.
Do you think that was something they were aware of before you joined with them?
Look, I think, were they aware of it? They certainly were aware of they certainly weren't aware about the shared task, I don't think. I think that became, when I raised that question, that it kind of raised the possibility for them that they could have a shared task.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, I wonder what, if they're goaled individually in effect of supporting children.
Yeah.
And it's very autonomous at that level. Finding a shared task, might feel like a distraction maybe, or selfish, or
but maybe, I don't know. I kind of think it was, so the managers at head office, and there's a team leader at one of the team locations, but what happened was a lot of decisions about partnerships and who they would work with and referrals happened at head office, not at a place-based level, where the people were who knew the community, who understood the culture, who could go and have conversations with people. So it was more about, well, what could shift to happen at a local level, and what still needs to be centralised.
Okay, I see.
Because if your team has responsibility for delivering a service at a local level, and you're managing some of those partnerships and arrangements, that kind of gives you a sense of yourself as a team, as opposed to someone in head office saying you're going to go and work with them, you're going to go and work with them. I mean, that
speaks to lots of different things for me in all sorts of organisations. So the world is shifting to procurement. Panels. So in my industry, there are lots of panels where decisions are made at a sort of disconnected. They're split away from the people doing the do, and so the panel might make sense for one area, but when it comes to the specifics, you can see that doesn't work. Or can cause issues. So it's anyway. I get distracted.
But I mean, I think this is, part of the, the work I do is systems psychodynamics, and it draws on that socio-technical theory, and which is all about, having decision-making at the point where it's required, and I think that a lot of organisations don't think enough about how do they delegate authority. So that means how do they authorise people to do the work on behalf of the organisation. And I really think that it would be worthwhile organisations thinking about that, because sometimes they grow in particular ways, and so decision making at a particular level just becomes part of the organisation. It's not thought about, but to really think about actually where is the decision making for this best located, where are the delegations best located. I mean, I think that could be really helpful for lots of organisations that have grown and haven't reviewed it.